The first Ukrainian soldiers have received U.S. Abrams tanks in a boost to Kyiv's counteroffensive. Ukrainian tank crews training in the Donetsk region of eastern Ukraine are the first troops to see the highly anticipated tanks, which were confirmed to have arrived in Ukraine on Monday by President Volodymyr Zelensky. In January, the U.S. pledged to supply 31 advanced M1A2 tanks after months of shunning the idea. U.S. General Mark Milley praised the Abrams tanks, saying they will make a difference in the ongoing 19-month war. Tank crews in Ukraine said that once they were deployed, the Abrams tanks, which reportedly cost $10 million to make, would be a big step up from the Soviet-era tanks they are currently operating, Reuters reports. The Abrams tank has protection against ammunition detonation. This tank does not have it. If ammunition detonates, there is no chance to survive, said tank driver Vitaly, 29. The tank is considered particularly lethal against heavy armor forces with a powerful engine, 120mm main gun, and special armor. On Wednesday, Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov said the tanks would not affect the outcome on the battlefield and warned the tanks will burn. Ukrainian tank crews in eastern Ukraine are the first to have received the arrival of the new tanks. In January, the U.S. pledged to supply 31 advanced M1A2 tanks after months of shunning the idea. U.S. General Mark Milley praised the Abrams tanks, saying they will make a difference in the ongoing 19-month war. Tank crews training in the Donetsk region of eastern Ukraine said that once they were deployed, the Abrams tanks, which reportedly cost $10 million to make, would be a big step up from the Soviet-era tanks they are currently operating, Reuters reports. The Abrams tank has protection against ammunition detonation. This tank does not have it. If ammunition detonates, there is no chance to survive, said tank driver Vitaly, 29. The tank is considered particularly lethal against heavy armor forces with a powerful engine, 120mm main gun, and special armor. Ukraine marked Friday's 82nd anniversary of a mass killing, mainly of Jews, in Nazi-occupied Kyiv with an appeal not to forget an event that it said provided the moral basis for opposition to Russian aggression. Nazi forces shot dead nearly 34,000 Jewish men, women, and children on September 29 to 30, 1941 at Babyn Yar, a ravine on the outskirts of Kyiv, after occupying the Ukrainian capital, which was then part of the Soviet Union during World War II. Over the next 2 years, many more people were killed at Babyn Yar. Most were Jews, but the victims also included Roma and non-Jewish Ukrainians, Poles, and Russians. It is very important to always remember history, not to forget. Because never again are not empty words, President Volodymyr Zelensky said after leaving a candle at a monument of a Jewish menorah erected at the site to honor the victims. He spoke with a small group of people gathered at the monument, including relatives and descendants of the victims and rabbis from Ukrainian cities. The Ukrainian Foreign Ministry urged the world to prevent such killings happening again and drew attention to Russia's invasion of Ukraine 19 months ago. The memory of Babyn Yar and the slogan "Never Again" are the moral basis of humanism and opposition to any forms of aggressive chauvinistic ideologies, in particular, Russian aggression against Ukraine, it said in a statement. Zelensky is Ukraine's first ethnically Jewish president, although he is not publicly religious. Most of his grandfather's family was killed during World War II. Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orbán said on Friday that very difficult questions would need to be answered before the European Union could even start membership talks with Ukraine. EU countries are due to decide in December whether to allow Ukraine to begin accession negotiations, which would require the unanimous backing of all 27 members. Diplomats have said Hungary may be an obstacle. We cannot avoid the question when during the autumn we will have negotiations in Brussels about the future of Ukraine, whether we can actually seriously consider membership for a country, to start accession talks with a country that is at war, Orbán told State Radio. We don't know how big the territory of this country is, as the war is still ongoing. We don't know how big its population is as they are fleeing. To admit a country to the EU without knowing its parameters, this would be unprecedented. So I think we need to answer very long and difficult questions until we get to actually deciding about the start of accession talks, he said. Commenting on Orban's remarks, Ukraine's foreign ministry said it was positive that the Hungarian prime minister is concerned about Ukraine's accession to the European Union. We would like to inform that Ukraine has not changed its territory within its internationally recognized borders, the ministry added. The British Foreign Secretary says that officials involved in sham elections held in annexed Ukraine have been sanctioned. The Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Office said the 11 new designations are in response to attempts by Russia to legitimize its illegal control of Kherson, Zaporizhia, Donetsk, Luhansk and Crimea. Foreign Secretary James Cleverly said, Russia's sham elections are a transparent, futile attempt to legitimize its illegal control of sovereign Ukrainian territory. You can't hold elections in someone else's country. The UK will never recognize Russia's claims to Ukrainian territory. Crimea, Zaporizhia, Donetsk, Luhansk and Kherson are Ukraine. The sanctions include restrictions on movement and finances, the FCDO said. Britain also added Russia's emergencies minister Alexander Kurenkov and the secretary of the Russian Central Election Commission Natalia Alexeyevna Budarina to the sanctions list. The British government has today implemented sanctions against officials from the annexed Ukrainian regions of Zaporizhia, Kherson, Donetsk, and Crimea. The sanctions will freeze assets and impose a travel ban on the officials from the regions. Foreign Minister James Cleverly said the UK will never recognize Russia's claims to Ukrainian territory following the announcement, Reuters reports. Britain also added Russia's emergencies minister Alexander Kurenkov and the secretary of the Russian Central Election Commission Natalia Alexeyevna Budarina to the sanctions list. The move is part of Britain's wider sanctions and reaffirms the UK's ongoing stance against the annexation of Ukrainian territories. President Volodymyr Zelensky accompanied Ukraine's chief rabbi today to pay respects on the anniversary of the massacre there in the Second World War. Zelensky was blessed by Chief Rabbi Moshe Reuven Azman during the visit Babin Yar. In a post on X, formerly known as Twitter, the Chief Rabbi said, I blessed the President of Ukraine at this holy place and wished him, on the eve of the Sukkot holiday, strength of spirit, inspiration and God's protection for the entire Ukrainian people. May the blessings of the Almighty accompany Ukraine on the way to peace and prosperity.